Welcome to podcast 139 from the Wiggly Sofa, and what a day it is for us. Today is the day where Jodie leaves the fold and flies to pastures new. I'm Heather from Wiggly Wigglers, and I'm sat on the Wiggly Sofa with
Richard from Wiggly Wigglers.
And we're joined today by
Jodie
from Wiggly Wigglers. You've got to say it today.
From Wiggly Wigglers for today.
Is this your last day then, Jodie? Today is your last day?
It is.
So tomorrow was it kind of annual leave day or something? Was it from?
Well, because we're having the party today.
It seems like an appropriate day to end.
It all, yeah.
Well done, Jode. So how long have you suffered here, Jode?
Suffered? I don't think I've suffered. 12 years I've known Wiggly Wigglers.
Loyal to the end.
Yeah, I am. And I will still be loyal.
How long? 12 years?
Yeah.
Blimey.
1996 I came to do the Wiggly Garden to start with. Yeah.
What did you think when you first rolled up outside the gates of Lake Mere?
I thought it was mad.
Really?
Really?
The name, Wiggly Wigglers, when my cousin rang me up and said, can you come and do the garden? And I rang her back at Wiggly Wigglers, and the phone was answered, hello, Wiggly Wigglers, and I just burst out laughing, like everybody does now when you think, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yes, it's funny, isn't it?
Together.
Yeah. And I came and I saw Heather then was in the shed packing parcels with Rachel.
Yeah.
And a couple of ladies from around the village were in there packing with them.
Right.
And Heather, as you know, stood out straight away because she's totally mad. Let me show you around the garden, and off we went and had a look to see what she wanted done. And it just went from there, really. I came on wet days to help them in the shed counting worms and things. And
She wouldn't come in. She had a yellow truck, right? This is the funniest thing. She had a yellow truck. It was in the days when we all used to have our lunch in the kitchen
little
together.
Yellow Jeep I had.
Yeah.
So we used to gather in the kitchen, and I used to go out to Jodie and say, would you like to come in
I was
for
very
lunch?
shy then,
And she
Rich.
said, no, thank you. And so we used to sit there and watch her in her truck and think, when are we going to get her in? She was like a little bird, that you wanted to entice in. Yeah. Anyway, eventually, we got her in.
Yeah.
She's been here for 12 years.
12 years. God, there must be so many memories, Jode. I mean, there's so many adventures and things like that. And we've talked about your pushing Hev round Eden, for instance, stocking that with worms in a wheelchair. But what's the most poignant moment, do you think? What's the thing that sticks in your mind the most?
Oh, there's so many, Rich. But one of the ones is when we went to France in 1998.
Right.
In the green Sherpa van. Hev will join in on this.
It was you shouldn't have took it further than Hereford. And
Heather's brother Billy was worried to death that we were going abroad in this van. And to add, this was my first trip ever abroad. I'd never been abroad. As Heather said, I was a little bird stuck in my little yellow van.
Yeah, golly.
Off we went in this green Sherpa van to France. When we get to Portsmouth, was it we went from? And we're in the queue with all the truckers,
Yeah.
and waiting to get on the ferry. And there we pull up into the ferry behind all the truckers in the basement part of the ferry where all the truckers go.
Yeah.
And all these drivers are looking at us thinking, what the hell are these two women doing?
this is a really old green Sherpa van with diesel and like smoke pouring out of the back of it, like a bunch of hippies.
Yeah.
And in the back we had a dose of can of worms for 56 can of worms. You remember that?
Yeah.
56 can of worms for
Andrea Gibbon.
That's right.
And that's our first mail shot, and we put our first mail shot, and we managed to bring the data in. And I wrote, how it was so clever in those days, wasn't it, to be able to bring data into a normal letter. And I was just putting the first envelope out, and it said, Dear Gibbon. And I thought, well, I'm not sure this computing is brilliant.
Quite right, no.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So it all went well.
Oh, it was great. We got on the ferry, and then we had this special ticket that we could join the truckers in their calf on the ferry. So we're in the queue, and we both looked at each other and all these horrible greasy men and thought, looked at each other, we went into the other part where all the normal people go.
And who was in there, Jode?
Edwina Curry.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good.
And
And we
was
had an
she-
egg, didn't we?
what was
she
she
was
doing?
eating an egg, was she?
She
One of us,
eats
someone
it,
knew someone had an egg.
Nice egg.
Yeah, she was right in front, behind us in there, yeah.
Oh, good Lord. So you're mixing with the celebs then?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Edwina Curry eating an egg. That's definitely one of the highlights of my life.
Sticks in your mind, yeah. Fantastic. So 1998. Good Lord, that's like 10 years ago. So was that? So I guess you guys have got pretty close by then, haven't you? So was that a kind of womanly bonding thing going on there? Trip overseas?
Oh gosh, we've been through so much. I remember specifically Jodie. We used to call Jodie smoking because she always smoked, and of course we didn't smoke.
Right.
And so my ambition was to get her to give up smoking.
Okay.
Anyway, she and I went to Hampton Court Palace Flower Show. And you know how shows are, Rich. You get really
You don't know
fed
you're
up.
born now, Richard, with shows.
Oh, gosh. We used to, do it all, and it would be dawn till dusk, and then we'd have to take the show apart and all
And then
that
we'd
sort
have to
of
stop with
stuff.
like cousins in London
Yeah,
on their
because we couldn't
floor.
afford
Yeah.
Because we
anything.
couldn't afford a nice hotel like
Yeah.
you can now. And,
So anyway, we did this show, and we had enough of it, because when we went to break it down, there was this massive queue. It was Sunday night, and we could not get into the show before 10 o'clock. And Jodie was so desperate that she went and asked somebody else
I
in
ran
the
out
queue
of cigarettes.
for a cigarette, right?
Yeah.
And so I decided to set my challenge. This was the day.
Yeah.
And so from Hampton Court home, which is 160 miles, I went on at her about smoking and what it
This
did to
must
your
have been
lungs.
in 97, because I gave up the year Princess Di died.
Oh, right.
That actual weekend I gave
Good
up.
God, really?
And, Heather, just get me to a garage, Hev. That's all I wanted. Just get me to a garage. We're not stopping at the garage. And,
Yeah.
and in the end, I gave up because I gave up sugar in my tea, Rich, because of Hev. I just gave up my life for Hev.
Sorry, Joe.
No.
Yeah, well,
So this has been a large influence on my life, I can tell you now.
A large. Sorry, Jode.
yeah, fantastic. So the show went well anyway.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
show went
very-
well.
very good show,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because Jodie was in charge of putting the shows together at that point. And then, you've been all over the place within the company, really, haven't you,
Oh,
Jo?
God, yeah. I wouldn't have been all these places or anything unless I'd have worked here. Starting off in France, been to New York, we've been to Jordan, we've been bike ride London to Paris,
Yeah, that was the first
we've
year
been
I
to
started, wasn't
Holland,
Sardinia.
Sardinia, Gambia,
Yeah.
it? All over the shop. Doing all these different
Australia
things.
to see
Yeah.
round that do the can of worms.
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, that was really
That
good.
was a great trip, wasn't it,
yeah.
Jo?
That went well. What was the most exciting thing about that trip?
I was like the mum, because Jodie organised the trip, and she's a lot younger than me, so she organised it in this sort of backpacking way,
Yeah.
and so of course it didn't
Cheap way,
suit me.
Rich. The
Yeah.
cheap way.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's
and so
good.
she put me on a bus for 24 hours at a 30-degree angle
Yeah.
with some smelly people. I was not happy, was I, Jo?
Like
Like this, I was sat
Some smelly people. I
so
like
it's
the way
always
you
like,
put that.
funny people. That's home from home, isn't it?
But the amazing thing about that trip was we were in Sydney with 5 other people from Preston-on-Wye, where we both lived, at the same time.
Yeah,
Right.
so the population of Preston-on-Wye is 183, and completely coincidentally, 5 people from Preston-on-Wye ended up in Sydney on the same night. So
All
we had
coming from different parts
That is
Yeah.
to be in the same
uncanny.
It
in the
is
same
weird.
restaurant
It
that
is,
and
night.
we had such a party. Oh God!
Well, we were drunk before we got there because we'd been
You don't say.
round had taken us. John Kelly and
Kelly.
took us on a cruise around Sydney Harbour,
Oh, wow.
and so we'd been on the Champagne, and it was
Melbourne,
the Melbourne Cup Day. And so I had my hat on that I've been wearing.
Yeah, it was the Melbourne Cup Day, and there was a competition on this cruise for the best hat. So all these women had their beautiful hats
Like
on,
Ascot type.
and
Yeah,
Jodie
yeah.
had this backpackers canvas thing with badges all
Badges that
over
I
it.
collected all around Australia. We'd been travelling around.
That's funny, I think. Funny
And
how
they're all
trends
stood there all
change.
elegant, and I joined the queue.
And won. She won the hat competition.
Well, that to be done, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair play.
So we were already drunk by that point, you see.
Yeah.
And then we go through Sydney all over the shop, and we finally find the others in this restaurant and carried on the moment.
I'll tell you the other thing you won, Jode, was at Fred in the Shed's awards dinner.
Oh, God, yeah.
Jodie won the air guitar competition.
Really? Because
We had to go out in our frocks with our wellies on. And there were prizes awarded for different companies, wasn't it, for different things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, just as a laugh, I think, he said, who can do the best air guitar?
Right.
And
There
they
was
put
no
this music on
competition.
and I was on the floor, doing it.
Yeah.
And I won a spade.
Fair play. Excellent.
And you did a speech, didn't you, Jode? When we won, what did we win? And you did the speech. We did it up together on the stage at the...
At the Small Business Awards.
Yeah, well...
You did the speech and you said, how are we going to celebrate when we get home, Did? And I just said, all I said was, chocolate. So Giles Brandreth was the hostess with the mostess, and Heather and I got up on the stage and did our bit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good that night.
Yeah, it was.
We drank a lot of champagne that night.
She's making it sound like the company is constantly on the Wampo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's
I never
not.
drank
It's
before
not.
I came to Wiggly's. I promise you, I never drank much at all.
So you've given up the cigarettes, but you've become an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's it, Rich. I've
Well,
pickled my
that's
liver.
And a
That's on balance,
chocoholic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Don't know.
So what are you going to do then, Jode? You're leaving here now, and there's a gentleman called David who's just started to take your place, sort of, I think, and I'm sure he'll do very well. But what are you going to do? Why are you leaving?
As my little nephew said to me, I hear you're retiring from Wiggly.
Yeah.
Basically, I want a bit more freedom to be able to do things that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'll be gardening.
Right.
That's what I was doing before I started here.
Right.
Also helping Anthony, my husband, on the farm.
Yeah.
Farmer's wife.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm that farmer's wife now. And so his mum and dad can take it a bit easier now and relax a bit more.
Okay.
They're still well into it and really keen, you know.
Yeah.
And it's great.
You make sure that Anthony doesn't work you too hard, though, because I've seen him in action. And he's
What,
quite
leaning on that gate?
Yeah, that's right. I've seen,
He's good
I've
at
seen him actually-
delegating.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
He's
I've
good
seen him
at
actually
boiling the kettle as
with
well
you,
every 5
Jode,
minutes.
would you mind doing that? Does that mean I've got to drive? Well, it does. Does that mean I'm going to use my own? Yeah. Well, is that all right? So I've seen that boy. I know he's quite naughty. So
And
don't end up
hopefully
working too
start a
hard.
family as well. But as Anthony says in farmer's terms, he thinks he's planting the seed too deep at the moment.
Oh,
I don't know whether you can use
Too
that.
much information, Joe. Too much information.
Sorry. Add that one in there.
Oh yeah. Well,
You can edit that.
well I think that's going to stay in there, James.
Yeah.
So good on him. So at least he's boastful as well, is he? Fair
That's
play.
it.
Well, I think you're going to be missed here, Jode, big time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
miss you all terribly.
But I think it's a
But I
great
still
thing
see
for
you
you.
all, Rich. Go.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
as if I'm
Yeah, we got-
moving to the other side of the world.
We got tennis on Monday, haven't we, Joe?
Yeah, Tuesday. We got tournament Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, from Wiggly Wigglers, we'd like to thank you, Jodie, very much indeed, and wish you all the best for your future gardening and farming.
And thank you for having me this time.
It's been a pleasure. And that little bird now is going to spread its wings and fly away. We tempted it out of the cage, it's flitted around a bit, and now it's going to fly away. I think that's lovely.
Yes.
Here we are, we've got a review coming up. We've also got Randall Gupta, who is the Chief Scientific Chappie to the Agricultural Minister of the Indian government. So from Jodie's seed planting, we go to Randall's seed planting too.
I think that's the most fascinating thing. Nearly run over there by a scooter. I should just sort of introduce this by saying that I'm with Rangan Gupta, who is
a scientific consultant under the principal scientific advisor to the government of India.
right.
Quite a mouthful.
I think it's better you say that than me.
Yeah.
But yesterday we were listening to you, and you got a lot of really good
Thank you.
figures, particularly on the situation in India
Yeah.
and related to climate change and
That's
farming.
right.
And I wonder whether you'd be
Yes,
able to share them with us.
Yes, certainly. I would like to share with you. You see, my concern is that right now, India's energy consumption is 573 million tons of oil equivalent. compare this with Chinese position, 1609 million tons equivalent of oil. Russia, 641. And India is just picking up in terms of development.
Yeah.
So our energy consumption will also increase. The way our mobile telephones have increased.
Yeah.
We are now having as many mobile phones as we have in the United States. You see, so if Indian economy picks up following the Western model of development,
Yep.
we will also contribute a good deal to the GHG
Yep.
emissions.
Yep.
And if you look at the GHG sources in the world, you find that electricity and related activities contribute about 24.5%.
Yep.
Industry only 13.5%. Transport 13.5%.
Yep.
And agriculture 13.5%.
Yep.
Deforestation is causing 18% of GHG emission in the
And that's worldwide.
That's worldwide.
Yeah.
But if you see it, India is contributing hell of a lot to deforestation.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we are not being able to preserve
Yeah.
and conserve our forests.
Yeah.
That is a major problem.
Yeah.
So India must develop a different paradigms of development.
So there are two hits really in deforestation. Not only is the consumption of the timber for fuel and the GHG emissions that go with it, but it's the lack of sequestration
Lack of
carbon.
sequestration, and also the other point is that our minerals are found in the forests.
Yep.
So much of the development is mineral based.
Right.
You extract iron ore, you extract bauxite
Yep.
for aluminium and all that. Consequently, development in terms of mineral based development means deforestation. You see, now therefore when I say we have to change the paradigms of development, you have to go in for efficient technologies, environment friendly technologies for power generation.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of scope in India for solar energy development.
Yep.
Substituting fossil fuel based power generation. So this way we have to develop a model that raises development at the same time reduces the greenhouse gas emission.
Yeah.
So India has a great responsibility. There's little point in blaming the West now because causing GHG. We'll be joining the team.
I was going to say, we're all the same, aren't we?
We're all the same.
You and I have been discussing this for the sort of last half hour.
Yeah.
And India, I believe you have 70% of the population at or below the poverty line.
No, not 70.
Not 70.
Not 70. It's 26%.
26.
26%, but in absolute terms, the number is a staggering 260 million.
That was the point was that all those people that once you raise their standard of living, if you manage to, they are going to aspire to want all the problems that we're talking about.
It will magnify. Just to give you a simple statistics, 50% of households in India have access to electricity, only 50%.
Yeah.
Now, out of these, very few would be using air conditioners and costly equipments. What if we have 100% or say 70%, and with a lot more people using costly electric gadgets, then our contribution to CFC and all that would be enormous.
So really what you're saying is that India's first priority, or the easiest priority, is to look at the rate of deforestation and probably just as importantly look at the rate of afforestation, planting.
And this, India is in a fairly advantageous position. These bamboos, you see, we have 28 species of bamboos in the country.
Yeah.
And bamboos can be grown everywhere except in high altitudes or in deserts.
Yeah.
They have highly efficient carbon sequestration capacity.
Yeah.
So we have taken up a bamboo mission program to spread bamboo plantation in India. Similarly, if India goes for a greening program, which we have already started, based on, say, a species called Jatropha carcass, which produces, biofuels.
Yeah, so like Miscanthus.
Like this.
Yeah.
But we have 65 million hectares of degraded land.
Yes.
Where we could go for bamboo, etc. So, just as industries start adopting, what is called environment-friendly technologies, and if we go on increasing this kind of plantations, which are having carbon sequestration capacity, then together we'll be able to reduce the emission level. So that means development may be there, but emission level may be contained.
Yeah, so that you're actually looking at land which is not currently farmland, that you can use to sequestrate carbon and develop business and industry at the same time.
Yes. That's
which is
precisely
the
point.
crucial point, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a business model which will be multiple business model. On the one hand, we develop carbon sequestration capacities. On the other hand, we switch over to efficient technologies.
Yeah.
That requires transfer of technology from the West.
Yeah.
So we may not be able to afford that kind of research program. But unfortunately, the intellectual property rights rules of the ITO come in the way. This you must agree that we have a point of grievance.
Well, it's the problem of commercial interest, isn't it? That
the government should intervene. The global government, all the states should realize that reducing emissions in India is in the interest of Britain also.
Yes. But it's not a political or a national crisis. It's a global situation.
Crisis and has to be handled globally also.
Yeah.
Short point.
That's absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure I'm going to end up talking to you some more in the future because I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
It has been my great pleasure to know you, and our encounter has been brief, but I do hope that it will be a long kind of association.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed.
What's this about peas, young man?
Peas, I thought, I just had a little moment of inspiration the other day. Well, not a dramatic moment of inspiration, but I thought what might be quite nice is to do a little weekly feature on each vegetable that's doing really well in my garden.
And this week, peas are doing well.
Peas are doing very well this week. So this week's feature is a little bit about peas.
Peas with Ricardo. Excellent.
Well, I thought it might be nice to do a little roving Ricardo from my own veggie patch, which is looking rather fine, even if I do say so myself. I'm particularly pleased with my peas this year. I've tried peas for the last 2 or 3 years and really struggled with them. I mean, I've planted a nerf, and the pigeons have eaten them and the mice have eaten them, done badly in poor ground. So this year, I thought I'd try something completely different. And Pippa, who grows our organic vegetable seed at Wiggly's, gave me a little tip about peas, and she said she tried just put a load of peas in a pot, like half a dozen in a 5-inch pot, and I just planted the whole pot in the ground as soon as the peas were a couple of inches tall. So I did that. Funny, everybody's got a completely different idea about how to grow vegetables. And Mike, one of our neighbours, who's a bit of a veggie guru for Sarah, he comes down and brings various things like celeriac plants and tomato plants and things like that. He said he usually plants a pea, each plant, as far apart as I've planted half a dozen together. So that was his first remark, and I was just like, give it a go, give it something, do something special. And I'll tell you what, I've got the best crop of peas imaginable. That's my geese you can hear in the background. Hey guys. There's about 9 weeks old and they're huge. I hatched those in the incubator earlier on. Some of you guys that might have looked at the Wiggly blog might have seen the goslings. The best thing about peas, though, of course, is that they are absolutely stunning to eat when they're raw. Just crack them open like that, and there's about 8 juicy little peas in a pod, and then just fucking swallow them like that. It's the best taste. It's like a little explosion of a mixture of sweetness and bitterness, but a crisp freshness. It's a wonderful thing. I mean, you can eat peas, just as they're forming, you can eat them like mange too. And when you do sort of deprive yourself of juicy peas later on if you start doing that, but it's often worth doing a few, just to get that taste sensation early on in the season. So, I'm dead pleased with these. I mean, what I've had to do, though, is I've had to put a whole load of grilling around the outside to sort of cage them in, really. I haven't bothered with sticks either, I just thought, just let them scramble all over one another. Farmer Phil grows his vining peas in his field, and they scramble all over one another, and he has, tons of seed peas for the farmers who want to grow them on for bird's eye and the like, so I just do that. And they have. I mean, it's worked really well. They are sort of scrambled over each other a bit, and you have to kind of delve in there to find the peas, but golly, it seems to have worked really well. And the other thing I did, which unfortunately I have to do, is put a little nipper under a ridge tile next to the peas, because otherwise mice just come and eat every single pea and bean that I have. So I've got a little mouse trap here, and it's covered with a ridge tile, roofing tile, so nothing else can get in it other than mice. Of course, I can't use poison or anything like that. There's absolutely no way. So this is the only thing I can do really to protect my crop. So slightly unfortunate, but needs must. Otherwise, I'd have no vegetables up here. So wonderful, a little insight into the peas in Rich's garden.
I'm glad your peas are doing well, Rich.
Good.
How's your French beans?
French beans are doing extremely well as well. Perhaps we'll look at French beans next week.
How's your veggie patch, Jode?
It's doing really well, except my runner beans. And they're looking pretty sick, quite yellowy looking. Asking around, a lot of people have got the same problem. Whether it's because it was cold at the start of the year, I've had to sow some more just to back
beans,
up. Yeah.
My broad beans are the most delicious crop ever. I had them last night with new potatoes. Delicious.
Fabulous.
Anyway, we've got in front of us, we are lacking Farmer Phil, but I've been to Farmer Phil's office and got us the paintings that have won the Farmer Phil competition. So I would like you two to say what you think of them, and also read out the winners who've already been notified, and by the time you hear this podcast, they will be the recipients, the winners will be, of a iPod. And the second place was an iPod Shuffle, and the third place was £20 worth of iTunes vouchers. So good prizes, but we had this many entries. Now, dear listener, you won't be able to see this. So this many entries is about 5 inches. So I think that might be hundreds, which was brilliant. So what do you think then, T?
I think it's amazing. The quality of these entries is superb. I don't think I was expecting quite that kind of quality, and I'm not sure what I was expecting really. But Phil's had loads of interest, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because poor Phil, his face was a little bit glum one day, a couple of weeks ago. I said, and he said, no, I haven't had any, really. And then suddenly he had this massive influx. So these are really good. 2 categories here, Hev, yeah?
Yep, 2 categories.
Which are the children's? Because to be perfectly honest, it's hard to distinguish between.
Oh, that's a good sign.
The quality is thus.
So the children's entries are on this left-hand side. So the third one is a fox. The second one is a batik ladybird, and the first one is garden scene really with a squirrel.
Right.
And then in the adults, we've got a pen and ink. This is my favourite by miles. But obviously Farmer Phil is the judge. But to my mind, I just love that one, that pen and ink one of slugs and snails and compost heaps.
Yep.
Then we've got a really detailed one of a can of worms, and then the winner is a foxglove with a sparrow on it.
Yeah, no, that's gorgeous, isn't it? With a cock sparrow sat on the top. I think, for me, my favourite one, is probably the painting of the can of worms, because there's so much effort that's gone. I mean, there's loads of effort gone into this, but that's very imaginative as well. The expressions on the worms' faces and things like that are absolutely wonderful. We're not sure what it's been done in. What did you think it'd been painted with?
I think it's in gouache, and we do wonder if it's in acrylic.
And who's that by, Jode?
Yeah, which one's that by? Who's that by?
Roger Males.
Yeah, where's Roger from?
East Sussex.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the third place was
Matthew Slater from Luton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's my favourite, absolutely.
Yeah, that is good.
And the winner, which well deserved,
is Mary Hancock's.
Well done,
from
Mary.
Preston on Wye.
Because we know Mary, so that's really nice. But just in case anyone thinks there was any iffiness, Farmer Phil did not see any of the names, and he judged it blind.
Okay.
Let's read out then who we've got here in third place for the under 12s. That was the age 12 to 102.
A gorgeous fox. This has been done with a, watercolour?
Yes.
Yep. And this is by Jude Fowler.
How old is Jude?
Jude is 8 years old.
Well done, Jude.
That's quite an achievement,
good,
yeah. And
That's fantastic, because
Charlie
an
Fox.
8-year-old compared to a 12-year-old is a... when you're that age, that's a big difference. So it was judged as...
It's very good indeed. Well done.
Place,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you
This
very
one
much.
I really like as
Second, now this is beautiful. What did you call this, Hev?
This is batik.
Batik, okay.
Yeah.
And so this is, this will adorn, presumably. I mean, Phil won't be transferring this from a painting to his wall. He might do, but presumably he'll hang this on his wall.
He'll hang that on his wall.
This is
and
wonderful.
there was a request on that one that said, if it didn't win, Tanya really wanted it. So anyway, she can't have it. No. Phil's chosen it.
And this is from Martha Davis. And Martha's from Harborne, and she's called this a silk painting ladybird, and it's absolutely wonderful.
And how old is Martha?
And Martha is the grand age of 11.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's some sort of thing for an 11-year-old to do. It really is wonderful.
Well
Beautiful.
done, Martha.
Even to the extent where she's got these, I'm sure those are little hand-painted buttons that have been stitched to the corners of the image inside. The buttons she's put on above her ladybird are beautiful as well. So there's a lot of thought there. They're presumably they're to look something like flowers.
Yep. Now, we want to know the winner. If you want to see all these pictures, go to the blog, wigglyWigglers.blogspot.com. Now, who is the winner?
Now, the winner is Madeline Ann Chambers.
Oh.
Madeline is a grand age of 10.
Wow.
Oh, there she is. Hev, you've got her up on your email.
I have. She
Madeline,
says...
she's got a cheeky smile.
She says, Dear Heather, I am very glad that Farmer Phil liked my picture. I was jumping for joy when I heard I'd won. Thank you very much. Please, may I have a pink one? Oh, that's because I asked her which colour iPod she'd like.
Okay.
I knew she'd want a pink one. She says, the squirrel in our garden and in the picture is called Tufty.
Oh.
He's our favourite squirrel because he keeps cats away from our vegetable patch and he has the cutest little family. This is the first time I've ever won a competition.
Well
and
done.
then she said, P.S. the attachment is a picture of me reading your email, and there's a picture of Madeline in pink with the biggest smile I've ever seen a 10-year-old have.
So he's very photogenic.
Yeah.
You're only 10, go.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well
So
done,
here we
Maddie.
are. The next
the best
Damien
Tufty
Hirst.
I've ever seen.
No, Tracy.
That's lovely.
Tracy Emin.
Tracy Emin. No, I think it would be something altogether different if Tracy Emin had...
No.
Tracy Emin doesn't have any talent either. So,
Ricardo.
that's the thing. So, well done, Maddie.
I remember the first time going to see Damien Hirst's cow when he sliced it in half at the Tate.
Yes.
And, you know, cynical, but it was amazing.
Was it?
Yeah, and even Farmer Phil was blown away. So just before we go, would you like to read out this latest review, Rich, or shall I?
Go for it, Hev.
All right. It's from Beaker J, and it's a 5-starer. Hooray! The world of Wiggly, simple but not simplistic. I eagerly save this podcast so that I can take it out into the garden with me while tending my small cottage garden and small veggie patch. Neighbours must hear me cackling away as the team laugh and fight their way through lots of issues I think are incredibly important. Blunt and honest to the point of rudeness. Ricardo a hypocrite, Farmer Phil. In my world, he made what is known as a mistake, which is hysterical and occasionally breathtaking. Farmer Phil has won my heart with his impassioned defence of the caring qualities of the proper farmer. Here I'm speaking as a former vegetarian of 18 years standing who decided to start eating properly sourced meat on the grounds that it would make a bigger contribution to animal welfare than opting out. Marrying a rabid carnivore had nothing to do with it. He's acted in a much needed counterbalance to my long held suspicion that farmers for a living couldn't care truly for their animals past the healthy animals make more profit level anyway. What I really love is hearing complex global issues like global warming, animal welfare, modes of travel, farming practices, etc. discussed in a complex, non-simplistic kind of way rather than some ill-informed, middle-class, patronising, one-size-fits-all answer to these problems. And Wigglies themselves are providing us with ways we can make our own small individual contributions. I love my wormery. It has cured my verge of worm phobia, without pretending they have all the answers. Doing the best we can while grappling with the big stuff suits my head and my heart. Kisses to all, J.A. Beaker.
Wow, what a review, eh?
It's the longest review I've ever seen on iTunes.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
It's so long, days have passed. So, Miss Jodie, it's goodbye from us. We have a little surprise waiting for you this afternoon. We're going to have a little bit of lunch.
Nice.
And we're going to have a little bit of laughter and a little bit of fun. Oh, I felt like Dame Edna then.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun, darling.
Little bit of fun.
Little bit of fun. And we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we wish you well for your future.
Thank you very, very much, both of you.
Good luck, Jodie.
And you, Michael.
Bye from me.
It's bye from me.
It's bye from me, Jodie.
And it's bye from me forever. Oh.